Can I thank you for that introduction, Lorna? Thank you to Emily and Tim for setting the scene this morning as well, and good morning to everyone. I'm really delighted to be able to join you for a short while. Great to see such a good turnout this morning. Can I thank YouthLink Scotland for inviting me to be with you this morning for what looks to be a day full, 2 days full of interesting sessions. I know that you will have the opportunity tomorrow to also hear from my colleague Mary McCallan, the Minister for Environment, Biodiversity and Land Reform, who will talk to you in some more detail about the Scottish Government actions on climate change and the global emergency facing us all. For my part, I'd like to speak to you today about the important role that the youth work sector plays in supporting Scotland's young people. Not only am I pleased to be here, but I am delighted that my ministerial role includes youth work. Since being in this fairly new ministerial role, I've been heartened to hear how wonderful and agile youth workers have been during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I recognise that agility, that resilience and adaptability is nothing new for youth workers as a profession. That's the hallmark of your approach in being focused on the needs of young people. It's simply what you do. But I do think it's important to recognise how especially hard youth workers have worked since the start of the pandemic and how much that you have positively impacted young people's lives. I'm enormously grateful for those efforts, and I know that there's a large number of young people right across Scotland who have benefited greatly by that level of commitment. So thank you for all that you have done and all that you continue to do. Whilst I recognise that as a workforce you have shown during the pandemic, I also know that it's been tough, which is why I think this year's conference is especially important, as it gives you all an opportunity to pause and come together to reflect on the last year. But of course, given the subject matter, today's also a great opportunity to look to the future, absolutely underlined by this year's conference theme and our need to act on issues of climate change. As you will all be aware, the Scottish Government has committed to world-leading targets of achieving net zero emissions by 2045. That means that our contribution to climate change will end within one generation, and that decisions made today will have an impact for generations to come. So it's therefore only right that we hear the voices of our young people and even more importantly, work with them to help us achieve our climate targets. There is a significant role for us all in supporting Scotland's ambitions, and we know that from the Scottish Household Survey that young people are amongst those most concerned about climate change. I have no doubt that many of you within all of you within the youth work sector will know firsthand young people's climate change concerns, and it's incredibly reassuring to know that you will be there supporting and guiding them to take action. Of course, climate change doesn't just affect our own young people. It is a global concern, and given those parts of the world that we know are going to be most impacted immediately by the pressures of climate change, and indeed we're seeing that already. This is an issue that goes beyond environmental and economic issues. It goes right to the heart of that term that Tim used. It goes to the heart of social justice. So that's why, as a manifesto commitment, we intend to double the International Climate Justice Fund to £24 million. Our international responsibilities will, of course, also be acutely highlighted next month when Glasgow hosts the 2021 Climate Change Conference, COP26. It is the Scottish Government's firm belief that this year's Glasgow-based COP26 must be inclusive. Young people must be represented, and we must show the world that we are taking young people's concerns seriously. Just Last week we saw around 400 youth delegates gather to show concern for their future and to rightly hold governments to account at the Youth for Climate meeting in Milan. But closer to home, I'm sure that many of you here today will already be involved in assisting young people across the country as they prepare to have their voices heard at COP26. This is an important opportunity, and I am very grateful that they have your support. As I mentioned earlier, I know you've all stepped up during this pandemic, and I hope that the Scottish Government's continued commitment to youth work has been clear through its increased investment into the sector during these difficult times. I'm really pleased that as a government we've been able to this year increase our investment in youth work by 30% by the introduction of a £3 million youth work education recovery fund. And in addition, I'm also pleased to know that national youth organisations such as Youth Link Scotland, Youth Scotland and the Scottish Youth Parliament received funding from the Scottish Government's £350 million community investment funding. And more recently, the Scottish Government, of course, supported a £20 million investment in the Summer of Play programme, which helped a wide range of vulnerable young people to reconnect with activities in their communities following the easing of restrictions. I'm aware that a great deal of this funding allowed work to take place outdoors in our natural environment, bringing us back to the theme of this conference, an environment that we are committed to protecting for future generations through those world-leading policies on climate change that I've mentioned a few moments ago. As with climate change, it's important that decisions made today to protect youth work for future generations are ambitious. In our 2019-20 programme for government, we committed to developing that new youth work strategy for Scotland that Tim referred to. Was the pandemic, I hope you will recognise, understandably paused some of this work, its progress is, I can assure you, a key priority for me. And in that regard, I look forward to working with you all in the period ahead of us to finalise an ambitious strategy that's built on achieving the very best for Scotland's young people. I hope that commitment is clear, and in that sense, I hope that the Scottish Government's support for youth work has been directly felt by you, your colleagues, and ultimately, and most importantly, of course, the young people you work with. But I do recognise that there is still more to do, and I eagerly anticipate us working together for the benefit of Scotland's young people. Just before I finish, I'd like to thank Youth Link Scotland for the support that you have provided to the Scottish Government over the last year. I know that you have worked tirelessly for your members, for young people, and for the youth work sector as a whole. So I want to thank Lorna, Tim, Gillian, and all of the team at Youth Link Scotland for their enduring efforts. And I look forward to continuing the great relationship that we have as a government with you as an organisation. And just finally, before I hand back to you, Lorna, I'd like to reiterate my gratitude to all of you for your continued hard work and endeavour, and for taking the time to join and come together this morning and allowing me the opportunity to be with you, as I say, for a short while and get the chance to speak with you. I'd like to wish you well for the next couple of days. Hope you get the chance to enjoy this conference, and above all, take away a well-deserved sense of pride for all that you do for Scotland's young people. Thank you very much.